is your host, Liz, and you're listening to the Bad Millennial Podcast, a podcast for and about modern millennial life and pop culture madness. And this is episode 1 of season 2 in 2024. Welcome to the new year, guys. I'm so happy to be back. I don't know about you, but last year was a long year. But aren't they all? For me, last year, I turned 30 in April, and so I had my little millennial midlife crisis. Or if you want to restructure it and call it a millennial milestone, that's what I prefer to call it. But I was so excited to turn 30, and I ended up starting this podcast. I don't know if it was really just to talk to myself or because I wanted to share a lot of my thoughts with you guys, but I have been having a blast brainstorming and figuring out how to record, how to edit, how to produce, and most importantly, how to get this audio right. So hopefully in 2024, we have less snags and way more episodes and even more fun ideas, segments, and guests on the way. I don't know about y'all, but for me, the end of 2023 was so much fun. My boyfriend and I took a cross country trip back from Chicago all the way back to California on a train. My first time doing a train ride that was longer than 30, 45 minutes. So this actually took us about 2.5 days to go from Chicago's Union Station all the way back to Richmond, East Bay in California. It was the most amazing, transformative, relaxing, and bumpy trip I've ever had. It was really cool to see the landscape and the country, from train, like seeing everything change, the different seasons, the different people. And even in the train itself, it was so much fun talking to new people during meal times and just interacting with each other and, really sharing and swapping life stories, advice, jokes, and even awkward silences. Yeah, I've learned to embrace those more and more as I get older. And honestly, I recommend everyone take a cross country or even just state to state. Okay, maybe state to city train ride once in a while. It is a really cool way to travel. And if you can, definitely splurge on a bigger room. We were enjoying a roomette, but if you're with someone who's taller, you're going to be knee to knee. But the chairs do convert into bunk beds, at least for the California Zephyr line that we took. And it was really fun. We had our own window and curtains, and yes, the door locked for safety. But you could also get room service. So instead of having to go to the dining car to eat with strangers, you could also have meals taken to your room. We only did that once at the very end when we were all just peopled out and tired of having the same conversation over and over again. But it was an amazing way to welcome in the new year. I popped champagne and had a mimosa on the 1st of January because I definitely conked out by the end of New Year's Eve. But yeah, it was a really cool experience. And I definitely have a few states that I want to visit in person instead of just going through with train. I believe we visited, or the train took us through 7 states, but my favorite, most memorable ones were Colorado. I believe we went through Denver, and there was so much snow, different ski resorts, beautiful, beautiful, trees and the snow and the mountains and the hills. I'm like, words can't explain. You just have to take this ride. It is very majestic to see the world from a different way, especially when some of these places that we went through can only be accessed by train. So it was really relaxing and peaceful that way. I also enjoyed the beauty of Utah and the canyons and all of that desert and gorgeous rocks and, it was just so cool. And you kind of just really were able to take a moment and sit with yourself. No distractions, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It was all very spotty. So it's funny, the train conductor would be like, okay, you have 5 minutes of Wi-Fi here. So you really had to just get back to your roots and either talk with your roommate, the other passengers, um, read. You could take photos and video, whatever worked. But you were basically offline for 2 days, which is actually really peaceful. And that's something I'm going to try to continue to do more of in 2024. Be offline, be of the world, just be present. So definitely recommend everybody either take a train ride, get off your phone for a bit and get outside, take your mental health walks, definitely enjoy nature because it is so beautiful and so much changes in front of you that you don't even realize when you're just glued to a big screen or a small screen. So, yeah, just get back to no technology for an hour or two or even a day if you can swing it. It's it's really a great way to be more mindful with yourself and just present. It's really great. So, I had a great 2023. It was so cool. That was like I guess that's the last date. That's gonna be 1 2 3 1 2 3, with 12/31/23. So that was a cool reminder. But we're here in 2024. New year, same us. I did not make any resolutions. I think I'm kind of over that with the whole, all right, new year, new me, and day 4 of the new year, I'm back to the same old me. So I'm just going to enjoy who I am and just keep pushing it forward. Stay in the present, look forward to the future, but really take every moment as it comes. So let's enjoy 2024 together with a brand new podcast episode. And I just want to remind you guys that merch for the Bad Millennial podcast is still available, as always, on Etsy at badmillennialshop.etsy.com. That's badmillennialshop.etsy.com. You can also shop on my website at badmillennialpod.com and click on the shop button. We have so much merchandise there. My favorite is the black glossy mug. It's really great for heating up in the microwave, having your coffee, your afternoon tea, your afternoon whatever else you want to put in there. That's one of my favorites. We also have shirts, hats, stickers. Let me know which ones you like, what kind of merch you'd love to see more in the Bad Millennial shop on Etsy. And if you have bought something from the shop, please leave a review, 5 stars. Let me know what you liked about the item. And I'd love if you would take a photo and post on your Instagram stories, or tweet me at underscore bad millennial pod underscore. I'm always looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say. And I can't wait to see you guys rock your new merch. Now, let's get started with the show. So, for this episode, I want to talk about my point of view from being a very online millennial and how we need to take things more offline, be more present, and separate ourselves more from our phones, computers, TV screens, and get back to real life. So, as I talked about earlier in this episode, I had a great end to my 2023, taking a cross country train trip for 2 days. And Wi Fi and everything was pretty spotty. There were a lot of times where I had to actually look out the window and see the beautiful landscape passing by. I really love books. And so I was actually surprised by my boyfriend with an amazing Christmas gift. The huge book, as some of you guys might have read already, it's called Fourth Wing. by Rebecca Yarros. And it was like one of the big fantasy books of the year. For me, being someone who has a bookstagram, I really try to avoid the super popular books just because I feel like a lot of them are overrated. They're usually just by white cisgender authors. And more times than not, the books are pretty simple and not that interesting to me. So I waited for, everything to die down, the chatter, the praise, and everything. But being surprised with this book and having so much time ahead of me, I thought, why not? Let me take it on the trip and let's read. So, actually being able to have time to focus and sit and read, oh my gosh, you would have thought I hadn't read before in my life. It was so nice to, one, this is a really great book. I had a blast disappearing into the story of Violet and a world of military training, but with dragons and just all the perseverance. I'm not that far into it. I mean, I've gotten a few chapters and 100 couple pages have gone by, but something about being able to just sit and read and listen to my thoughts and actually focus without screens and without social media, it was amazing, and my boyfriend was kind enough to not talk to me for a couple of hours while I focused and just read, and it was so nice. So I found myself wondering, why was it so hard for me to focus before? I, think back to when I was younger and just speeding through books. I didn't really have social media. Growing up, I didn't have a MySpace. I think the first social media thing I ever did was probably Tumblr and then Facebook. Um, but I was barely into texting when I was younger. Super into spelling bees in English. So when my friends started texting and shortening words and using acronyms and stuff, I was just so confused and lost. And I was like, why are you not spelling that right? Why won't you spell out, to be honest? Why is it TBH? And of course, as you grow older, you adapt, you learn, and technology and social media have kind of forced us all to adapt even faster and catch up with the latest trends and what's going on. But I find that being very online and being of the world and in the loop with a lot of things, you kind of lose your focus. It became a lot harder for me to be able to focus on one thing consistently. Um, I'll say, even with work, I am very good at multitasking and juggling things. With books, I'm usually reading three at a time, whether it's hardcover, audiobook, um, books on my phone from NetGalley. I find myself getting bored and easily distracted, and I just jump from thing to thing. And I find that's even a thing with me, in real life. I'm always fidgeting, especially on the train trip. I found myself fidgeting from one thing to another, going through my bag, through my purse, getting up to walk around. In the observation car, I probably had the best time of my life because there were so many things moving and different landscapes and people and weather. It was just like a feast for my eyes and my all my senses, as well as the other passengers on the train. Everybody is so different, and how they move, how they talk, how they dress, you know, just being able to absorb that and be all around that and digest it fully without being distracted was really nice. I must say, I probably took for granted life before social media and the internet getting really popular. I didn't realize how much I craved human connection and interaction on a daily basis. I am someone who, after the pandemic and even before the pandemic, really got used to working from home and not having to go into the office every day. And sometimes I get lucky and don't even have to do Zoom calls every day. So I really just get to focus on me and whatever other distractions there are. All this to say, though, being present and offline is really, really important, especially for your mental health. I usually like to have time and space to myself, which is why I love working from home and having my own place. But I also know that it's good to be around people, have that communication, and be able to bounce your ideas off someone in person. I think that, the ominous day, which is the internet, but somewhere I read that most of your communication with other people is all in the physical, the face to face, the little ticks we notice in someone's posture, positioning, what they're saying. So much of that actual physical communication is cut off when we're all just on social media or online browsing. So I didn't realize how much of a skill reading people and communicating with people in person was until I found it hard to be present. I found it hard to stay offline. I kept thinking humans are so weird. You can never guess what they're going to say or do. And, you know, social anxiety became a thing, even with shopping in a Target. Sometimes it was just overwhelming to have so many people around you. And not that you're, going up to everybody and having a conversation, but just being around so many people at once, especially when you're used to having your own space and your own quiet time and being able to control so many things, that was weird for me. So I've noticed that being online 24/7, that's a problem. And starting in 2024 and beyond, I'm going to be even more mindful of taking myself offline, of being present, getting out of the house, and working through that social anxiety to talk to other people. I honestly think this podcast has been therapeutic for me starting it. It's forced me to talk to my friends and other people even more. And I really love just being able to have conversations with folks about themselves, about what's going on in the world, and it not being through text or, you know, posts and memes. Oh, oh my gosh. Can I just talk to you guys about memes for a minute though? Why are memes so relatable? Why do millennials like we use them as forms of communication? It's usually just pictures or photos, um, reels, videos, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I can send so many reels and posts to people through a whole conversation the entire day, and we haven't said actually one word to each other. And we might, have an emoji reaction to something or send an LOL or a OMG, right? But nothing is really, I mean, I guess the ideas are being shared and, expressions are being expressed, but it's not a real in-depth conversation, and I've had to catch myself sending hundreds of memes to somebody without even saying, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? You know, um, can we talk about XYZ? It's so crazy. And I think memes have become such a tool for millennials because it's easy. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to get deep. Um, I also think that, sometimes it's necessary. A lot of times when I get memes from uh, my friends, we're just de stressing from work, daily life, whatever's going on, and just sending simple memes to be like, yo, look at this. This is hilarious, right? Yep. Like that's, I don't know, a new form of releasing stress I've found. But it is dangerous when it's kind of like, okay, the only way we are communicating with each other is through memes. And then it's like, I don't know this person anymore. Who are you? What's going on with your life? It's weird. And months or years have gone by and I haven't had like an actual conversation with you. And you're just known as, that friend who's really good at finding all the latest memes, but I don't actually know what's going on in your life. So, Yeah, I digress, but millennials and memes, that's like our addiction, really. So I'm trying to cut down to maybe sending 5 memes in a row before I'm like, okay, time to stop. I'm even putting a timer on myself for Instagram, and when it's like quiet mode, you can set those times. I'm actually following the suggestions. TikTok's the same way. I love TikTok so much, and it is incredibly addicting. But I really appreciate when TikTok, the company itself, even like puts up videos saying, "Hey, you've been on here for a bit. Like, you need to take a break. You must be tired, especially at night when you're scrolling through TikTok and they're like, yo, it's time to go to bed. Like, chill out." So I'm putting, you know, boundaries and giving myself more and more breaks. And it's okay to not send a meme every single day. And it's okay to not log into social media every single day. For me, deleting social media apps doesn't actually help. It just makes me itch and like, oh my God, what am I missing? But being able to exert some form of self control and telling myself, okay, an hour, 2 hours, that's it. Or I'm going to plan what I'm going to actually search for and not let myself get lost in the scrolling and the algorithms and just try to take some control back. Honestly, social media and being online, even the Google app now has a bunch of recommended articles and stuff that I know my phone's listening to me. So everything that Google's suggesting me now to read is just so on point that I can't stop scrolling. I'm forcing myself to be like, okay, first page, top 5, 10 stories, cool. Look at the headlines, interesting. And then take myself offline. I am working on that. So, yeah, online is just incredible and you learn so much, but honestly, you got to think about your mindset and how are you actually wasting your day, your hours. If you're on your phone and the day starts off bright and then it's dark by the time you get off your phone, that's a red flag. That's a big issue. Another thing that's been weird for me is phone calls and actually going on friend dates, talking to people in person. It's just a little bit abnormal because I've been so online and so digital and used to the digital world. And I need to reverse that. You know, a lot of older people and even younger people, honestly, people my age, millennials, like a lot of people still like phone calls. It's fast, it's direct. I don't have to send you paragraphs of text to get my point across. And I actually you train yourself better to listen when you do phone calls. I think a lot of people who are online are tired of listening and it's hard to, focus. As I said, as I mentioned, your focus is very limited, it's very quick, but being able to do a phone call, being able to actually meet up with friends in person, and afterwards you just feel this actual high, like the real endorphins are here. The real serotonin is being produced, not by all the likes and memes and all that, but actually being able to connect with another person. Um, yeah, that's something I've taken for granted for sure and thought I was getting enough of. But every time I leave a phone call or even a quick, hey, going to my friend's house or something, like I feel way more better. I feel totally different. I feel like I'm floating sometimes. Being able to actually connect with people, that's something that should be viewed as a necessity because I think we're so wrapped up with the online world and the news and what's trending. We don't really feel connected anymore. It feels a lot like people are just constantly against each other and butting heads and, or just vying for the most attention, the craziest antics. And, you know, it's a lot of chatter, it's a lot of noise, and most of it's just not real life. And, a lot of social media now is so produced and full of ads, and marketing. And yes, I'm guilty of that too, especially with this podcast. But I find it's important to remember you have a real life to live, and you only get this one life, this one chance. Do you really just want it to all just be full of moments online? Or do you want to have amazing moments that you can recount and tell to your friends, your children, your enemies? Like, I want memories that make me smile when I go to sleep, you know? And social media and being online, it just isn't doing that for me anymore. Maybe that's part of growing up, being, 30, a bit of more of a adult. I think I've stopped using the word adulting because I feel a lot more settled and a lot more clear in life and what I want to do. I don't feel like I'm pretending to be an adult right now. I feel very rooted in it, right now. So yeah, I'm working on making every day and every moment matter, and simply enjoying being present in it. So, what can we do? What offline things can we do? What things can we enjoy that make the temptation of being online and being attached to a screen just not as addicting anymore? You know, um, I've been trying a lot of things, especially going back to my roots. I am very much a bookworm, and actually being able to open up a physical book or listening to an audiobook again while taking a walk or eating dinner. Um, that really gets my brain going, my creativity going. I also really enjoy writing. I do that for a living as a copywriter, but being able to just write short stories or fun creative things outside of social media posts, that's another thing that I love doing and am pushing myself to do even more. Maybe one day I will publish a book, a short book, a book of short stories, who knows? But, getting back to my roots and what I loved to do as a child when I didn't have a phone or cared about phones or social media, that's what's really making me happy. Other offline hobbies that I've been looking into is meditation, group workouts, group dance, biking, forcing myself to make phone calls at least once a week to friends and family, um, and really just trying to get out there and do anything that doesn't revolve around social media. That's really what I want to try to do and recommend to my fellow millennials to stay sane and in your own brain. Okay, we have enough chatter going on inside of our heads. We do not need to be inside everyone else's head, which is which is what I've noticed with social media. Everyone's thoughts and ideas and opinions are out there, and it's so much chatter. And you sometimes forget your own inner voice, your own inner thoughts. It's so easy to be influenced by others. That is why we have a whole new career out there called influencers, you know, and being aware of that, being able to take back your own control, your own mind, having your own unique personal opinions and thoughts is so, so, so important. So, those are my thoughts on being a very online millennial and my solutions to take all of this offline and be present in real life. Hope some of that helped. If not, I would love to hear what you think people who are very online should do to be more present and be more mindful. I think I'll make this a question for the Spotify podcast listeners, as well as on my social media when I promote this, but also possibly write even more about it on my blog at badmillennialpod.com. Again, I said I'm getting back to my roots of writing creatively and sharing my own personal thoughts. So I hope you guys love it and read it. I'm also publishing on Medium. And if you follow me or subscribe to Bad Millennial Podcast On Medium, I believe you'll also get an email when new posts are out. So, another shameless plug, subscribe to my blog on Medium and leave comments and share. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Bad Millennial. If you like this episode, please leave a rating, a review, subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Get that merch, share, and let me know what you think. And I'm so excited to give you guys even more relatable millennial content.